So in today's video we are going to go over some factorization problems. Basically I would like to keep it under something like 15 minutes and basically make every type of factorization problem you might see. So you have a quadratic polynomial like this. Usually you will see this, but what if something's missing? What if this plus c part is missing? Well, it's pretty easy, because then you will have something x squared and something x. And you've probably seen these, and I can tell you that you don't really have to know anything about quadratic polynomials to solve something like this. So you already done most of the job. In the right side of the equation you have 0, and in the left side, let's say you have something like x squared plus 5x, or x squared minus 4x, or 4x squared plus 8x, something like this. And all of these are equal to 0. So what are we going to do here? Well, pretty easy. Firstly, you can make this one this first expression, x squared plus 5x equals to 0. You can, if you see something like this, you will always have a common factor of x. So you can factor out x, and you will get x squared plus 5x equals to x plus 5. And this is 0. Why? So what's the reasoning here? Well, you basically say that you can factor out the x times x. Here, x times x is equal to x squared. And you also have 5x here if you will expand this parenthesis. Pretty cool, right? And right now you can basically solve this one in less than a second, because we have something called zero product property, meaning that anything multiplied by 0 is 0. So either x or x plus 5 has to be 0. So what are the two solutions for this equation? Well, you will have x1 and x2. And well, x could be 0, because then this part, the x part, is 0, or x can be minus 5, because minus 5 plus 5 is 0. And you can only get 0 if you multiply something with 0. So either x or x plus 5 has to be 0. So this is a pretty easy thing, but something that a lot of people might forget, because the quadratic formula and V8 formula and this stuff are great. They are one of the best things in maths, but sometimes you just have an easier way to do this. Now let's try this guy right here. X squared minus 4x equals to 0. By the way, you can feel free to just pause the video at any time and try to solve them yourself. I would assume you will be able to do it by now. So we have x, and we will also have x, and something keep in mind that it's minus 4, because x times minus 4 is minus 4x. That's something that people might mess up sometimes, but it's not that big of a deal. So that's 0. So either x or x minus 4 should be equal to 0. So when is x equal to 0? When x is 0. And when is x minus 4 equal to 0? Well, that's when x equals to 4 plus 4, if you want to make it even more clear. So that's another solution. And our last example is this one. We have 4x squared plus 8x equals to 0. And something you should always keep in mind is that you always want to factor out the highest common factor here. So you always want to find that one. What's the highest common factor here? The largest common factor? Well, you have 4, and this 8 can be written as 2 times 4, and you will have x here and x here. So you have x and x. And if you would like to factor it, you would say that 4x times, first we have to get 4x squared. So 4x times, what is 4x squared? Well, that's x. Yep, that's x, and we will have plus. And 4x times what is 8x? That's 2. So you see, you can factor it out like this, but keep in mind that you always want to find the largest common factor. So yeah, 4x times x is 4x squared, 4x times 2 is 8x. And you have, well, 4 times x, either 4 times x is 0 or x plus 2 is 0. 4 times what is equal to 0, that's 0. And something plus 2 equals to 0, that's minus 2. So yeah, we have successfully solved this. Next up, we will have some factoring practice. So what do we have here? Well, we have the V8 formula, which basically states that if we would like to get the two of the solutions for this problem, we would use this formula, and if you would add the two of the solutions together, you will get the opposite of this b, which is the number we multiply by the first degree expression in a polynomial, and c is and see if we will multiply this together, and that would be minus 18, and this x1 plus x2 equals to the opposite of this b. But this isn't a video about the V8 formula, it's one about factoring. So let's see, do we know two numbers that if multiplied together give you minus 18, and if you add them together you get some, well, that would be 9 and minus 2, because 9 times minus 2 is minus 18, and 9 plus minus 2, I mean 9 minus 2 is 7. And now let's factor it. We would have x plus x minus, like this. And something that you should always keep in mind is that because of the zero product property, so this has to be equal to 0. So because of the zero product property, we write the opposites of these numbers. So we would have x plus 2 and x minus 9. Why? Because we have two solutions for this equation. One is 9, and if you would like to factor it, we would say that what minus 9 equals to 0, because 0 multiplied by anything is 0. That's what we call the zero product property. And yeah, there you would have 9, because 9 minus 9 is 0, and the other one is minus, and the other one you write plus 2, because x is minus 2 in the other case, and in the other case, and minus 2 plus 2 is 0. 0 times this is 0. Keep in mind that this only works if a is equal to 1, like right now, right here. If a isn't equal to 1, then you would have to divide both of the b expression and the c expression by a. So if we would have 2 right here, if we would have 2x squared then we would have to divide -7 by 2 and -18 by 2 in order for the formula to work. This is just a little side note. We are not going to deal with that one today. So this was a nice little practice. Let's delete the board and let's try another one. Right now we have x squared minus 5x minus 14. So we know that. So we would like to figure out these, and then with the help of these we could factor them after it. So we know that x1 times x2 equals to minus 14, and we also know that x1 plus x2 equal to 5. So the opposite of minus 5. So let's see. Can we tell two numbers that if we multiply together we get minus 14, and if we add them together we get 5? Well, it's pretty easy. We would have 7 and minus 2. 7 times minus 2 is minus 14, and 7 plus minus 2, which is 7 minus 2, is 5. So great, we would have, and once again remember that x minus 7, because we write the opposites of this, because this entire thing has to be equal to 0, times x plus 2. Because you would get 0 right there. Something else that you should also keep in mind is another reason why we do that is if you would like to factor this out, you would get x squared plus 2x, and then you have this and this, so minus 7x minus 14, which if you would add 2x to minus 5x, you would get x squared minus 5x minus 14. So this is also an explanation for it. If you would expand the entire expression, you would get this. Now, up next we are going to have something a bit new. So we would have 2